show the answer up on the big screen, and whatever you get is a certain amount of points. Now, here's the really great thing about it: is cash prizes.
Nice.
So you can get your $3 back plus a whole lot more. Anyway, we started this last week, and it's a lot of fun, and that's over at Tap Out. And there's always something going on at Big Daddy's, but at Boulder 54, coming on September 6th,
yes,
is the Soup Fest.
The Great Bouquet Soup Fest.
The Great Bouquet Soup Fest.
Yes.
Brandy.
Yes.
Tell us all about the Great Bouquet Soup Fest.
This is number 6. Yay!
Yay!
It is the annual fundraiser for the Bouquet Knitters and Quilters. All of the proceeds go towards the purchase of yarn, batting, fabric, which we use to make baby things.
Mm-hmm.
It is a $10 suggested donation.
Mm-hmm.
When you come, you receive a bowl and a spoon.
Good start.
And the opportunity to wander around and sample and enjoy 18 plus different soups that people have made and donated for us. Generally, we have we have styrofoam and plastic, unfortunately. So this year, if you're coming, when you come, if you want to bring your own bowl and spoon, you have to keep up with them because we're not going to try to. But bring your own bowl and spoon and save a little
bit of the
from
environment.
The trash.
Yeah, a little bit from the environment. Yeah.
If somebody wants to give me, and I'm not kidding, if somebody wants to give me $1,000, I will buy melamine bowls and metal spoons and figure out where and how to clean them and store them in between the events. But that would be cool.
Well, see, there's an opportunity for those of you who have the itch to accommodate a very, very worthwhile cause. Fork or spoon over $1,000.
Spoon over $1,000.
Spoon over $1,000.
Designated strictly for bowls and spoons, and I will do that. But the money that we raise at the event goes for my babies, for baby blankets, sweaters, caps, booties, quilts that we donate through the clinics and other aid organizations for the neediest, tiniest of our neighbors.
And this is something that, now, you have been on the show a couple of times already, and you're a friend of the show, and we talked at length the last time you were on about the knitters and quilters. And for those of you watching video, this is knitting.
Yes.
This is knitting right here. And this is something that you're making for the knitters and quilters.
It is. Right? It's a baby blanket.
Okay, well, hold it up to the camera right there.
I'm in the middle of a row, but that's okay. Anyway, I don't know where we are.
There you go. Look at that. See, this is why you should be listening and watching the show instead of just listening to the show on Radio Cherokee 103.3. It's radiocherokee.com. And scroll down and you will see the feed coming in.
It's also on Boquete News and Boquete Community on Facebook.
It's also on, all right, we're live everywhere. And Roger is here. He's behind the camera over there. He is. So give us a recap on the Boquete Knitters and Quilters group, what it is, who it benefits, and what people can do to help support that organization.
Boquete Knitters and Quilters started about 10 years ago after I learned that a number of indigenous mothers bring their babies in to the clinics for newborn checkups, very lovingly and carefully swaddled in newspaper.
In newspapers.
Because they don't have anything else available in many cases. And it was one of those Gone with the Wind, Scarlett O'Hara moments as God is my witness. They may come in newspaper, they're going to go home in something better.
Something better. So it's blankets.
It's blankets, little sweaters, the little caps, booties for their tiny little cold feet.
It gets
It's-
cold up there. They're
it
up in the
gets-
comarcas, right?
very cold up in the mountains, and they live with dirt floors in a lot of cases, and no bed, and the babies just get cold, and then they get sick, and they need
Well,
something warm and soft.
and I've been talking to people over the past several months about this, and excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough this morning. What are the average numbers of say in a month? How many young women come in with newborns, and what's about the average age?
I'll be really honest, I don't know, because I don't see the end recipient.
Okay.
We give literally bags full of items to the clinics, to Centro de Salud next to Romero,
Okay. Yeah. I know
to the health clinic in Palmyra. We give things to the Obaldia Hospital in David, to their newborn nursery, and to their pediatric oncology department.
Oh yeah.
We do chemotaps.
Sure. Wow.
And then to Nutrogar de Chiriquí in Boquete, in David, which is a residential malnutrition treatment center.
And I'm guessing that's kind of an issue here too, malnutrition.
Oh yeah, very much so. So we donate them, and then the staff actually gives them to the clients. But
Nice.
average age, mid-teens, mid to late teens,
Now,
I'm afraid.
Is there a program, or is it part of one of these organizations that perhaps maybe provides education on birth control? And I know that's kind of a touchy issue, but when you hear a lot about very young girls having babies, is there some sort of a education program available along with the items that are made?
Again, I don't know for certain, although I have talked to some people,
Mhm.
local people, who are working on that. And it's a paradigm shift. It's a cultural shift
Sure.
that has to be made with as much sensitivity and understanding.
Well, sure. It's a sensitive subject, and
It's an incredibly sensitive
and there's
subject.
there's no judgment on our part. It's just the question comes up,
Mhm.
and it comes up often enough to where it begs asking it.
Yeah. It does.
And that's not just in this area. I've had people on the show from various different charities,
Mhm.
and they've said the same thing. It takes a paradigm shift, even
Mhm.
with how to take care of pets.
True.
So if organizations like Knitters and Quilters and the organizations that you deal with are providing items
Mhm.
that are needed, then it would make sense to address the issue that is causing the need for these items in the first place. I would think. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Backing away from the issue of birth control,
Sure.
one of the things that the Knitters and Quilters has done in the way of a paradigm shift,
Mhm.
if you will, is that Latina Panamanian ladies saw us knit in public. Knitting is not part of the culture
Uh-huh.
here. Crochet is, but knitting is not. And they wanted to learn.
Really?
And my favorite four-letter S word is sure. So with a lot of laughter, a dictionary on my knee, sitting on the floor,
Sure.
I taught Latina Panamanian ladies how to knit.
Wow. So are they now part of the?
And the deal was they could knit their first project, their Learn to Knit project, was a scarf that they got to keep, no matter whether they wanted to continue knitting or not. If they wanted to continue, the deal was and remains I'll give you my yarn, our yarn. I'll loan you our needles, but you have to knit for our babies.
Okay. Yeah.
And they decided that Nobe Boucle babies were worth knitting for.
Well, that's fantastic.
Which is a bit of a paradigm shift.
Uh-huh.
Then they, the Latinas, were seen knitting by Nobe women.
Oh.
And their question to the Latinas was, do you think that she, meaning me,
yeah,
would let us learn to knit?
Oh, wow. There's that 4-letter word.
And there's my 4-letter word again. Sure. And now we have expats, we have Latina Panamania, and we have Nobe Boucle Panamania sitting together and talking and knitting and crocheting. And it's a friendship, and it's a tiny step, but it's a step, and it's a community, and it's so wonderful to see that in action.
Well, so it's always good for me, whenever I am exposed to either an event or something going on in town that includes, as inclusive of everyone in the community.
Oh yeah.
To me, that's a fantastic thing, and that's no secret. I mean, almost everyone that I've had on the show has something to do with trying to bring the community together. And the basic purpose of the show is to have people on who are involved in things that bring our communities together. And this is not taking away from the other, the other charities and things. This is something that affects every level of our community in so many different ways, and things like the Soup Fest, fundraisers and whatnot are very important because this stuff takes money.
Yeah, it does.
It takes cash, and it's always nice to say, okay, hey, we need money, and I'm sure you'll always take donations.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But we all love an event. Everyone loves to go to an event. And I was around for the Soup Fest last year. I wasn't involved in it in that way. My band was playing, I believe, for it. I think it was. I don't know. We've done so many gigs. We've done a lot of benefits. But the months after that, everyone was still talking about the Soup Fest. And everyone loves soup. Oh, yeah. Or some kind of soup. I'm not really a big fan of every kind of soup in the world, but I have my favorites. My wife turned me on to potato soup. Oh. So she makes this unbelievably, fantastically awesome potato soup. And I didn't even know you could make soup out of potatoes. I'm just that ignorant when it comes to the kitchen. I really try to stay out of the kitchen. So we had a get together a while back, and they had this giant pot of soup. So yeah, I think I'm going to try that. So I had a little potato soup, put some bacon bits in it because,
because bacon makes everything better.
Because it's bacon. It's right. Bacon. And I ended up eating 2 bowls of that. So I don't know if anyone's going to have any potato soup, but maybe next year Day could make a pot of potato soup for the Soup Fest.
She could make one for this Soup Fest.
Maybe there's still time.
I mean, 18 plus just means 18 and more.
And more.
Well, so yeah, if she wants to, hey honey, if you want to make soup, please. Because I have it on good authority that you make a killer potato soup.
She does. She makes vegetable soup and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, she feeds me well.
I can tell.
Well, yes. It is what it is. But events like this, though, also bring the community together, because I remember it wasn't just expats and gringos at the last one. I wasn't here for the one before. I hadn't come in country yet, but the last one, it wasn't just the same old faces. It was a lot of people wandering in and out. I thought that was great.
Our very first Soup Fest, we had an incredible special guest, which was the United States Ambassador and his wife.
Oh, really?
They were actually going to be in Boquete that weekend, and she was a crocheter and wanted to meet with the group. And I had to explain that we were having the Soup Fest, and she said, "Oh, we'll come.
We'll go." Yeah.
And they were supposed to drop in, stay a few minutes, and leave. They wound up staying the whole time.
Now, how long does this go for? And
It's from 11 to 1:30.
And on the 6th,
and it's
right?
on the 6th, and it's at Boulder 54. We are so excited to have that venue.
Well, it's a beautiful place.
Oh, it's a gorgeous place, and it's going to be wonderful to set up things, and it's not just soup. I mean, there will be breads,
sure,
and there
yeah.
will be cookies and stuff, and their bar will be open so you can get a really nice drink.
And most importantly, there's parking.
Yes, there is parking.
That's a premium here.
Actually, Chris said that he's going to open up the gate between
Sure, for the
Tap
BCP.
Out, the BCP,
Yeah.
and Boulder 54, so you can walk through.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's parking.
Yeah. And if you, in case you all didn't know, that the BCP, Tap Out, and Boulder 54 are technically on the same piece of land.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little gate in between the parking lot of Tap Out or the BCP and the pathway into
Over to
Boulder 50.
54.
And it's a beautiful pathway too. There's a
Oh,
little
it's
brook that runs,
lovely,
and it's a
lovely garden
lake
through
and
there.
so you can
Great
park
photo
over there.
opportunities on your way.
Yes, it is. It is. And so there's plenty of room for you to park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to it because like I just mentioned, I'm kind of new to the different types of soups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up in Brooklyn, New York City, we had it was minestrone. It was either minestrone or Italian wedding soup. That was pretty much, and tomato soup. That's what we grew up on. And now, over my lifetime, and especially since last year, did you try? They can make soup out of that. I'm realizing you could probably make soup out of almost anything.
Oh, there's a song called Stone Soup.
Stone soup.
Mm-hmm. Bobby Bear sang it. It was. There's a legend about stone soup.
Yeah, like a literal stone.
Yeah, the soup stone, the wonderful, wonderful soup stone.
I'm gonna have to Google that, and that sounds interesting.
But let's see. I know we're going to have roasted red pepper soup.
Oh,
There will be a vegetarian vegetable soup, cauliflower cheese soup. I can't remember. Lots and lots of soups.
And this information, obviously, you can get it on all the usual places.
Yes, the poster. I try to put the poster on Facebook and all of the community pages as often as I can get away with.
Yeah. Send me send it to me, because I know the one that's on there is a good quality, but I'm sure you have an original one, and I'll post it on my Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
there's 4,000 something people there.
Nice. And I'm sure you have people who, I hope, people who don't live here but might want to support our efforts. We have a PayPal account.
Oh, good.
It's called Boquete Knitters and Quilters, all written out one word, at gmail.com. And that's our group email address and our PayPal account. And you could sponsor a sweater. You could sponsor a blanket.
Well, most of the people on my personal Facebook page are local. They're Panamanian.
Ah.
They go from Boquete all the way to the Gap. I have friends in the Gap.
Wow. Well, if they want to come up and enjoy soup, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Or hey, Boquete Knitters and Quilters at gmail.com.
Or both.
You can send some money. It really, we've talked a couple of times about the work that the knitters and quilters do. And, every now and then I'll see, Day crocheting something,
I know. She does lovely work.
She's amazing. I definitely married up.
Yeah, you did.
I know, right? I still wake up some morning, I'm like, how in the world did I pull that off? I don't understand. But anyway.
Sheer dumb luck.
It's got to be. But yeah, the items that are made are not the only things that go. I know there's a lot of other organizations, private individuals, and charities that contribute. I know there's clothing. There's construction people that come in. I read a story a while back about a woman who her home had no bathroom in it.
Right.
And people got together and literally built her a bathroom.
Yeah.
And a wheelchair ramp. Because her husband was carrying her in the wheelchair up a dirt path. And the generosity of this community just never ceases to amaze me.
Isn't it incredible?
You know, a need comes up, or a series of need comes up, or a regular thing comes up like this, and everyone kind of rallies together.
Yeah.
And
it makes
does
you
it.
proud.
Yeah, it does.
It really makes you proud to be part of this community.
I mean, you've got the Handicap Foundation that, I got a note from Salika. The Knitters and Quilters, I'm talking with the people from Salvador's, the Animales. I'm trying to get them on the show. There are so many things going on here that it might seem, well, is this all really needed? And yeah, it is all really needed.
It's all really needed.
We're going to take a break here. Oh, we're going to play a song called Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding. Goulding? You know, this tells you how, you know, I'm showing my age. Anything that was written after like 1985, I have no clue. But anyway, here is Love Me Like You Do, and we'll be back in a few minutes. And we're still broadcasting here on the video while we're taking the break from the radio. And we're sitting here talking with Brandy Gregory about the Boquete Knitters and Quilters group. And I'm looking at what you're doing now. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. It's very easy.
Now, is that knitting?
This is knitting.
Knitting now?
Tejer con dos agujas, which is knitting with 2 needles in Spanish.
Oh, okay. I know that Day has tried her hand at knitting, and it's a little difficult, but she does crochet.
She does.
She's doing this thing now where, and I wish I could remember what it was. And Day, if you're listening, text it to me. But save me. But it's knitting. It's so sort of a thing. Yeah. And we're back. You're listening to, and we're back. Yeah, this is BoqueteNOW on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. For those of you watching, I have my official Radio Cherokee shirt on. We're sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill, Bowler 54 Tap Out Sport Zone, which is a lot of fun. And we're talking with Brandy Gregory of the Boquete Knitters and Quilters, who is sitting here actually, as we speak, knitting a blanket for an indigenous child.
Yes.
And we were talking about the fundraiser for them, which is the great, not to be confused with the Boquete Soup Fest, which doesn't exist, but the great Boquete Soup Fest.
Yes.
And we were talking, we were talking about the different kinds of soups. And for me, growing up, we grew up with the usual New York City type, minestrone, vegetable soup, chicken soup, and the usual. There really wasn't a foray into the great variety of soups available. So I'm going to be attending, and I'm sure my wife will be with me, the Great Boquete Soup Fest. And I might actually bring my own bowl.
I hope you do.
Is Tupperware acceptable?
If it will stand up to the heat.
Okay.
And literally, sure.
Yeah.
We don't require the Linux fine china.
Yes.
And the sterling silver.
I haven't heard that in a minute. Wow.
But yeah, it would be great if a lot of people could bring their own soup bowls and spoons, because it would save on using the disposables.
Sure.
And it would be not as environmentally impactful, if that's a word, as it would if everybody used the styrofoam.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of bittersweet, because you want to provide people with a way that they can taste the soups.
Oh, sure.
But styrofoam, as you know, it outlasts most marriages.
Yeah, it does.
So bring a bowl, bring a spoon.
That would be great.
And that would be great.
But there's not going to be a place to wash them out in between tastings, so plan wisely.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if people could do that.
Yeah, that would be nice. And if you properly eat your soup, there should be nothing left in the bowl.
Exactly.
And I am not above licking the soup bowl in public.
My kind of guy. My kind of guy.
You got to clean your plate. Your mom always said, clean your plate.
And no dogs allowed.
Yeah.
So I can't bring Eric, who would gladly lick everybody's bowl.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, here's an idea. Over at the grocery store, you can get the replacement for the plastic bag. They're a quarter, right?
Yeah.
The little bags, the marrow or a few places sell. So they're a quarter. So here's what you do. You get one of those bags, right? And in that bag, you put a roll of the brown paper towels, because they're environmentally safe, right? And you have your soup bowl.
Well, that would
So
work.
you finish your soup, you rip off a piece of paper towel, clean your bowl,
put it in the trash can, which will be provided.
And if you can't get to the trash can, well, now you have your handful little bag.
Yeah.
You can just
drop it right in there.
And then you could save the planet.
Yeah.
Eat the soup, support Boquete Knitters and Quilters, and enjoy
Sponsor a sweater.
And sponsor a sweater. Now, tell us about what kind of sweaters are they? Are they handmade sweaters, or are they?
Oh yeah.
Do they have a logo on it or something?
No. We hand knit.
Okay, so you're talking
sweaters.
about sponsor a sweater for. You're not selling T-shirts. Or
Oh
sweaters.
no,
Okay.
no. We a $10 donation, more or less, depending on how good the sale is. Because we have to order our yarn from the States.
Sure.
And $10 will give us generally enough yarn to make about 1.5 baby sweaters.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by sponsor a
Sponsor
sweater.
a sweater. Yeah.
And I got some really good news.
Oh, tell us. Do tell. We love good news on BoqueteNOW.
I was browsing through Joanne Fabric's website.
As one does.
As I do regularly, and found that they had a Girl Scout reward program. And I looked at it and found out that as a lifetime member of the Girl Scouts, which I did mumble something years ago when I was a Girl Scout leader, I actually can get us, I think it's a 20% discount on virtually everything. And I am so excited about that, that I am still doing the internal happy dance, because that's huge.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that's
significant, especially at the
huge.
volume that's
Mhm.
needed.
Because when we order $1,000 or more at a time.
Well, it's $200 you're saving right
Yeah.
there. Wow.
And
That's
usually we're lucky enough. I look for sales.
That's 40 sweaters. $200.
Yeah.
That's 40 sweaters.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that.
Or maybe, I don't know, numerous quilts and blankets and everything. And we use all of the yarn.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, if I have yarn left over from this blanket, it goes back in the group stash and somebody will pull it out and combine it with something else.
Maybe a border or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
waste not want.
but yeah, the 20% is pretty stinking awesome.
Yeah, I think my kids, my girls went through the Girl Scouts.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's the same. There are several different scouting organizations. I remember a group called the Campfire Girls.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they're part of the Girl Scouts.
They're not part of the Girl Scouts of the USA or the World Association of Girl Scouts and Girl Guides. Do I sound like a geek?
I wonder why. My mother
But-
was president of the Campfire Girls back in the 60s and
Wow.
70s.
It is a sort of a companion. It's the same idea,
Uh-huh.
but it's not the same organization. And here, there is a Guías Muchachas organization, which is part of the International Girl Scout Girl Guide.
So it's okay. Oh, there goes the door.
Somebody slammed the door on me. But they're not as active as in other parts of the world down here. But it's a great organization, and it teaches leadership skills, science, and technology, and things like that. And it gives girls an opportunity to try things in a supportive, non-threatening environment.
Sure. Well, scouting,
And-
as a whole is I was in the Boy Scouts.
I mean, great organizations.
Yeah, there's always something, a lesson to be learned in everything, and then maybe you don't realize it when you go, wow, I got to do this, But as you get older, we tend to draw from things in our past, and these organizations do a really good job of giving young people that might not have an opportunity to have a role model or someone in their life to give them
And
guidance.
to be a role model.
To be a role model.
I remember when my granddaughter was a brownie, Girl Scout,
Yeah.
and she was the only brownie in a troop of older girls, simply because I was the troop leader.
Uh-huh.
And she was going to go on her very first camping trip. She was a little shy and hesitant about life, the universe, and everything, but she went, and we camped together in the tent. First time she'd ever been tent camping.
Oh.
But the older girls mentored her that entire weekend, because of a house fire when she was very, very young. She was terrified of open flames of any size. They got her through that, so that, well, no, you have to light the fire.
Sure.
You got to do this.
Got to get past
We
your.
will not let you fail. We will not let you be hurt. And they got her through it.
Wow.
And to see not only my granddaughter's growth, but the growth in the other girls
Sure.
of realizing, wow, I can be a leader, I can teach. And they make me so proud when I love seeing that sort of thing
Sure.
happen.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to see, our youth
Mhm.
deal with real life problems and deal with things that may cause some anxiety
Mhm.
or some apprehension.
Right.
For me, it was I grew up in the city. I'm a city boy. I was born and raised in New York City, and the whole idea of camping to me was terrifying.
Oh.
I don't want to be out there in the woods. My dad and I used to sit and watch. Remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom
Oh, yeah.
back in the 60s and 70s? We used to watch that every week, and I'm thinking, well, okay, if I leave the confines of the city, I'm going to get eaten by a cheetah or something. So I was terrified, and but we went out with the Boy Scouts, and I still remember the camp we went to. It was Camp Laconda, and why I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember a camp I went to 50 years ago. But yeah, it was an interesting time for me, and I got past that.
Yeah.
Of course, the last time I went camping was a couple of years ago, and our campsite had a kitchen, and our tents had climate control in them.
You were glamping.
We
You
were
weren't
no.
camping.
My brother-in-law is an outdoorsman. His name is Alan, and he's very good. He's got every piece of equipment that you can imagine, and he's an accomplished outdoorsman. And when he goes camping on his own, he go native camping, just a tent and a sleeping bag. But my nieces and nephews, very young, and my kids, we'd all go together, and he had this one tent. It was a kitchen. It was a full kitchen.
Wow.
And another tent was for something else. And we had this campsite with like 5 or 6 tents, and the whole was a compound. And I was like, oh, this is my kind of camping. I like this, But anyway, we digress, which is something that we do here on the show because we're just having a conversation. We're having fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about the recipients. And I know that what you do here, what you guys do here, you give these items to other agencies that provide them. But can you give any insight onto sort of the climate and the general area and the living conditions of the people who get? Because a lot of people don't realize, we live kind of a sheltered life. A lot of us expats, sometimes we're in a little bubble. We have our nice homes, we go to our nice restaurants, we drive our nice cars, and whatever. But it's very easy to lose sight. And it's not a matter of a judgment. But if this information isn't known, I like to say that ignorance is excusable. I'm ignorant about my car's transmission. I know that I put it, and I move the thing, and I go forward. But willful ignorance is a whole nother matter.
Right.
And which is the purpose of education. And when you hear, well, there's this group of people that are making these blankets and these these hats and these booties and everything, what are the conditions of the locations to where these are given? Why are these? I know we've said it's cold and whatnot, but can you give us an idea of what we're dealing with?
A very dear friend of mine, one of my knitters, is Nobe. She and her 5 children were abandoned by the husband, father. They live in an unpainted concrete block house with a corrugated roof and 2 rooms.
5 kids.
5 boys, 1 girl, and mom. They, relatively speaking, are fairly comfortable. There are houses that are made of old corrugated roofing nailed together.
The whole house is
house.
It's a tin shack.
A tin shack.
A tin shack.
Some of them are suspended on posts with a wood floor, which is possibly plywood or something.
Sure.
Some of the homes have dirt floors, which become mud floors.
Yeah.
For some, running water can be municipal water, private water system, a well, or take this bucket and run to the river, and that's running water.
That's running water.
Some have indoor plumbing, bathrooms, toilets that flush. Some have outhouses. Some have trees.
Yeah. So
And
it's a varying level, but it's not anywhere close to what those of us who are, I like to say, we're spoiled here. And that's not a bad thing. We come here for a reason. We come here for a better life for ourselves and for our families. But there's a lot of poverty here too, and there's a lot of need here.
And the poverty here is at times so profound that it's almost incomprehensible. When I lived in the States, poverty essentially meant, well, you don't have cable, and you
gotta
don't
take a
have,
bus,
and you got to take a bus, and you live paycheck to paycheck, maybe, and you don't have new stuff. You shop at the Goodwill.
Sure, yeah. Been there.
Been there, done that. But poverty here, it's so profound that it's almost indescribable. Next year is the census.
Okay.
They have a census every 10 years here in Panama, the same way they do in the States, and it's all long form.
Oh.
And so you get questions about what is your house made of? And they give you choices. What is your floor made of? And they give you choices.
Pretty comprehensive.
You get things like marble or granite, wood, concrete, tile, dirt, garbage,
tarps,
yeah. And for the poorest of our neighbors, that's their reality. And the reality that I have a newspaper to wrap my baby in.
Sure. Yeah.
Or maybe an old torn pillowcase.
It's whatever you find.
It's what you have, it's what you find. And that breaks me.
Well,
it just breaks me every time I think about it or speak about it. And yeah, I like to knit. And if I can make a difference, if I can save a life.
Sure. Well, I'm sure many lives have been saved.
And
what's the climate like up there? With the weather? How cold is it? How cold does it get at night? Because we're talking about infants. I mean, the whole family's obviously, nobody likes
infants
to be cold,
and small children
too.
The higher you get, the colder it gets, the wetter it gets, because a cloud forest means you're literally living in a cloud, which is cold and damp. The temperature can be, in the 50s or even lower, the higher you get. The rains, the moisture, the clouds.
Sure.
It's a cold, damp, miserable chill.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like at your house. Every now and then there might be a little cloud roll by, and you're complaining about.
I know, and the things we complain about.
My gosh, it's 68 degrees,
I know,
and I'm freezing.
Yeah.
Drop 10 degrees from
or
that.
20.
Or 20.
Yeah. Well, looking at, and like I said, we've talked about this a couple of times, and one of the reasons why I like, having you on the show, outside of the fact that you're a wonderful person, is your the way you describe these things. It isn't. It isn't clinical. You know, like you're listening, like you're watching a documentary. You know, just figures and stat. There's no emotion behind it, and I think it's really important when you're trying to express a need.
Mhm.
You know, to express that in a way to where it's not only just, you know, an honest, you know, expression of how you're feeling,
Mhm.
but to convey the urgency behind whatever it is you're talking about. And we're dealing with infants and children,
Yeah.
and an adult has the capability to make choices, uh, even if there's an extremely limited choice. You know, if you're a little cold and you're up there, an adult can go out and find something
Yeah.
to wrap around themselves.
Even if it's banana leaves.
But an infant and a small child is completely relying on an adult.
On an adult, on somebody
Yeah.
to protect it and
Yeah.
nurture it and care for it. And I've been in the comarca a couple of times, not as often as some people I know. And when you see the barefoot kids
Mhm.
and the wearing the wrong size, worn out Crocs or
Whatever they
or-
can find.
or
Mhm.
flip flops,
Sure.
whatever they can find, it I don't see how you can't be moved.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't see how you cannot
Well, we had,
see this.
me and my wife and some friends, we had made a trip
Mm-hmm.
to Bocas. We had to visit the embassy there, and we went through several indigenous villages.
Mm-hmm.
And I had made it a point because I'd never been to Bocas before. It was my first time, and I had gotten an opportunity. I thought it was an opportunity for me to try to put something together that would give people an idea of what it was like to live, because it's all indigenous. Once
Yeah.
you get past the dam,
Right.
almost all the way to past the date line, the
Mhm.
international date line. And because I wasn't driving, I had an opportunity to stop and to take pictures and
Right.
to talk to people. And I produced this little 5-minute documentary on the living conditions in these
Mhm.
villages. And while I was putting this together, I was really studying the photographs. And there's this one photograph I took, and I had, you know, I had to ask, yeah, you gotta ask permission.
Oh yeah.
So I took this one picture of this indigenous woman. I'm guessing she was probably in her late 40s, early 50s, and she was sitting in front of the dwelling she lived in, and she was doing something with her hands. She was looked to me like she was shucking peanuts, but I don't think they were peanuts. It was some sort of a thing. And the thing that grabbed me about that picture was the expression on her face. It was blank. It was almost as if it was an expression of someone who had given up, you know, or someone who had just gotten to a point of almost giving up.
This is all there is.
This is all there is, you know.
And
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what it must look like from their perspective to see somebody with, you know, they would work an entire lifetime and probably not have enough money to buy the phone that I'm holding,
right.
let alone a vehicle, you know. And when I was looking through these pictures, I was putting this documentary together, all I could think of, you know, was what can we do? The scope it's just a mile after mile after mile after mile after mile. you know, like you said, when you're in the States, you have poor neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and it's a contained neighborhood. You know, maybe it's 10, 15, 20 square blocks. You know,
Yeah.
maybe the south side or the north side of a city, and you can look at it, and there's borders, and there's a defined. Okay, this is where the poverty starts, and this is where the
Mhm.
poverty ends, and you can drive through it in a matter of minutes.
Right.
But hours,
Mhm.
just hours, and that's just what I was able to see from the road. It's mind numbing when you
Mhm.
think about the need that that exists.
And yet, we also desperately need to remember and respect and honor the incredibly rich and proud history
Sure, yeah,
of the indigenous
Yeah.
peoples here.
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely, yes.
They have their own government.
Yeah.
They have their own culture.
They have their own industry.
They have their own industry. They have their own life.
And it's
And-
remarkable, though. It's remarkable that, in spite of the almost abject poverty,
Mhm.
they seem to be thriving.
Mhm.
Their culture is thriving. They're passing down. They still pass down traditions from generation
Mhm.
to generation to generation, and that is kind of our culture as Westerners. That's foreign to us.
Mhm.
You know, it's almost as if they're defying what we would see in our
Oh, yeah.
our ignorance as acceptable. But they're thriving. Their communities are thriving. They have
Mhm.
their own school systems. They have their own education. They have their own industry. Some of them have their own monetary, economic systems.
Mhm.
And when you look at that, and you see that, in spite of the hardships, they're living.
doing okay.
They're doing okay. You know, but they
And-
do need help.
Yes, but the worst thing that we can do is, in my opinion, is to waltz in and say, you need to do this,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm going to help you do it.
And instead of
That's-
asking what you need and how can we help you,
Not even
Yeah.
what do you need, how can we help, but if you just go in and say, I'd like to get to know you,
Sure, okay, yeah, I see where you're coming.
start there. I never went to, we, the knitters, never went to the local people and said, you need to learn how to knit and we're going to teach you.
Sure, yeah.
They saw us.
They
They
to you.
came to us. And we said, sure, we'd love to get to know you.
Well, you know, that's unfortunately that's a legacy that is all too prevalent with a lot of Western organizations.
Mhm.
You know, and it's not just people from organizations from the United States. It's the entire Western culture. You know, we tend to want to come in and fix things.
Oh, yeah.
We'll let me show you how you can do this better. Meaning, your way is no good.
Right.
Do it our way, and that never ends well. It just never
Well,
ends
you
well.
resent it when somebody comes in and says, let me show you how to be a radio host.
I know, or anything. We
Or
all
anything.
do, but we don't. We tend not to. We for some reason we tend not to think about that. That this is a self-sustaining
Mhm.
community, and it's been a self-sustaining community for thousands of years, and we need to respect that.
And it's a community that did not get conquered by the Spaniards.
Right? See?
And that is something that is a matter of pride.
Sure.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah.
And I am proud of that for my friends.
Good. Well, we've been we're about out of time. We've been talking
Oh my
to.
gosh.
I know. See, this is fun, right?
It is fun.
We're talking with Brandy Gregory from the Boquete Knitters and Quilters, and we've been talking a lot about the needs of the indigenous here and what the Boquete Knitters and Quilters do. And one of their fundraisers is the Soup Fest
Yes.
at Boulder 54,
At Boulder 54
September
on
6th.
Friday,
to Friday.
September 6th.
Starts at 11 in the morning.
in the morning.
Suggested donation is $10, and
Correct.
by suggested donation is if you want to give more than $10, they would be more than happy to receive that.
Plus, actually, one time an indigent, there's the word, gentleman came. He was hungry, and he had something like $1.43,
Uh,
and he got to come in.
and he got to come in. So
I
there you
mean,
go.
So, but yeah, suggested donation $10. We will, if you don't bring your own bowl and spoon, we will provide you with a bowl and spoon and the opportunity to sample 18 plus different soups, breads, cookie for dessert, and the bar will be open.
And the bar will be open. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and for watching. I'm Al Stefanelli. This is Brandy Gregory. You've been listening to BoqueteNOW, sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill, Boulder 54 in the Tap Out Sports Zone. Want to wish you all a wonderful day, and we will see you same time next week. Pasen un día.